AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, rather, will be held on Wednesday, September 22nd, live from Arthur Ashe Stadium, which is now sold just under 19,000 seats as of this recording. They've opened it up to 20,000 right now. So it's looking like they're going to have a packed house and they are ready to roll. The card for the event is a pay-per-view level card. It is really something else when we look at it. You got Brian Pillman Jr. versus MJF, Malachi Black taking on Cody Rhodes, Sting and Darby Allin teaming up to fight FTR, Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson in a non-title match, a dream match that people have wanted to see for years, and what I believe is going to end up being the main event, the Good Doctor, Britt Baker, DMD, defending her AEW World title against Ruby Soho. What a card. Trevor, just what do you think about this card? What do you think about this show in general? Like, this has got to be one of the biggest TV events in wrestling in a very long time.
Oh, it undoubtedly is. It might be the biggest TV wrestling event in, like, as Don Callis says, in the last 2,000 years. It's big. It's huge. Just think about it. No wrestling program has ever been wrestling anything has been in Arthur Ashe Stadium. No one has been bold enough, ballsy enough to hold an event there like wrestling. This is big, man. It's big for wrestling history. It's big for the sport of wrestling right now. It's important. It's fun. This card shows how much fun and how important it's gonna be. Like, dude, like this, like you said, this is pay-per-view caliber matches. Like, even the Brian Pillman Jr. MJF.
That was a pay-per-view level match for MLW in 2019. They had an event where Brian Pillman Jr. took on MJF back in the day.
Yeah, it did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like these two have chemistry, they have history. That's why I think you saw the severity of those promos being as big as they are. We'll get to that in just a second, but I really want to just talk about the masterful job that AEW has done in building this as a big time event. They had All Out, which people are claiming that was one of, if not the best pay-per-view of all time, which I think it's definitely up there. But they're the sequel to that. The response to that for AEW is to right afterwards have the biggest, what might be the biggest TV event in wrestling history, and the biggest card they probably put together. This right here, Omega versus Danielson. We'll get to it in a second. It's a huge match. It's a match people want to see for a decade, and it is happening on free TV, non-title. So literally, either one could win. And CM Punk's going to be there. They're going to have, obviously, JR on commentary. This is something. Sting is wrestling. What a time to be alive, man.
Yeah, man. Well, this is third match of the year, right?
Yep. This is third official match of the year, I believe, or fourth if you count the cinematic match you had at Revolution. But
right.
Let's talk about the card very quickly. So let's start off with Malachi Black, who will be taking on Cody Rhodes, the returning Cody Rhodes. We saw Malachi Black try to end Cody Rhodes' career after he hit him with the crutch at AEW Homecoming, and then Cody was out for a while. Malachi's been taking out Cody Rhodes' entire Nightmare family. And then finally Rhodes returned. He got a little help from Rosario Dawson. Big shout out to Rosario Dawson for the assist on Malachi Black. And they look all gung ho. They look all ready to go. Malachi versus Cody. What do you think about the build of this match?
I love it. I love the build of this match. The funny thing is, to me, the second match was built from when Malachi Black walked into in AEW, and a lot of people wouldn't understand what I mean, but like the first match was a given, right? The second match was built. When he ran through Arn Anderson, I just knew he was going to beat Cody, and like the second match was already built in my mind. So it's already a great build for it, great storyline. Both wrestlers have amazing chemistry in the ring. I love how Malachi wrestles. I've always have. So it's going to be fun. Very entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've done a very good job of building this up. It kind of reminds me in a way of the Brody Lee Cody feud from last year because
Yeah,
it had
yeah,
similar elements. Obviously, Cody had to go film the Go Big show at the same time as well. But I think they could be in a spot to actually kind of finish that feud in a weird way,
right.
in a more indirect way, kind of carry like what that story should have been or could have been, where we might get to see little tidbits of that as this feud continues. But I mean, this is a perfect time for Cody to come back and reclaim his throne, as we like to say, as he likes to say.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna go with a wild card here. I think Malachi Black, even though he's the heel, even though this is Cody's big return, and everyone's expecting him to go over because that's what Cody does. Cody wins. Lol. I'm joking. We love you, Cody. But everyone's expecting that to happen. I think Malachi Black wins, and he could
I was
use
thinking the same thing,
some
actually.
devious tactics to do so. But I think he ends up winning this match, and it could end. And I think you build it up to another match between these two at Full Gear, and
Yeah,
have it be a lights out match that Cody ends
right.
up winning. Like that's what I would want to see because this is a main event level match, and I think it could be there. But that's just an idea. But what do you think about this? Who wins and
I
why?
it's funny that you say that. I honestly believe that Malachi Black wins too, only because I mean, let's not say the obvious reasons to get him over. Because I mean, fuck, he was over when he walked through the door. He's already over. But like to build Malachi as this malicious heel, I think you let him win. You let him win, and then it also helps build Cody, which Cody doesn't really need any more building. Cody's completely over as well. But it
You
builds
got to
Cody.
get Cody over, but brother, you got to get Cody. Cody, you got to protect your spot, brother.
It builds Cody to this supreme badass that we know he actually is, into, and like you said, another match at Full Gear that could be some type of hardcore match or lights out match. So yeah, I think Malachi wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm very much excited for this card, and so are you guys in the chat. IBB in the chat says these next 24 hours are going to feel like a week. Grand Slam is going to be amazing. He also says First Dance, All Out, Grand Slam. They keep knocking it out of the park in the most important factor, making their big shows actually feel big. This is so true. This is
so true, man. I couldn't have said it any better.
And this week we're only 6 weeks away from Full Gear. That's the other amazing thing. We've had three of the biggest shows, after Grand Slam, we'll have probably three of the biggest shows in wrestling this entire century, and we're gonna be following that with Full Gear, which we might see Adam Page win his first world title.
I would love it. I would love to see that.
Big cowboy shit's happening. Anyway, moving on to our next match on the card. MJF taking on Brian Pillman. This has been a very, very hot feud between these two. MJF cutting scathing promos on Brian Pillman's entire family, calling his mother Methany, looking down as he to hell as he's talking about Brian Pillman's father, Brian Pillman Sr., the great late Brian Pillman Sr. Literally cut a promo on Dynamite on Brian Pillman Jr.'s pregnant sister and sent her into labor that night.
Yes.
MJF is the greatest heel to ever walk God's green earth. What do you think about the build to this match and Brian Pillman Jr. and his role in this?
So you mentioned earlier about their matches before, so they're used to each other, and you like to see stuff like this, even though sometimes it's kind of hard to listen to because you're like, oh my god, like did he really say that? Like, but you like to see stuff like this because they know each other. They know how far they can push and what they can do. With that being said, I, even as a little child, have never been guilty of just being like a fan of the hero. I've always liked the villain. I've always been like villains most of my life. And MJF is quite possibly the greatest heel, if not one of the greatest heels, if not the greatest heel I've ever seen. And I love his promos. I love the chemistry him and Brian Pillman Jr. have. I think it's amazing. if I was Brian Pillman, like knowing that they know each other, know they're friends or whatever, I don't know if I could keep a straight face while he's saying all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it would be very hard for me. But no, it's a great. I think it's a great build up. I think it's going to be an amazing match. Both wrestlers can go. I actually, it's one of the matches that I'm really looking forward to seeing. Honestly.
This has been one of the most this has been one of the hottest things on Dynamite. Just MJF cutting promos and Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman is like a natural, like, he's got that baby face fire. His promos, he's gonna get better. I'm glad they're giving him a little bit of a spot here to try to get better with his promos. Like,
because they're not terrible.
Look,
but
and also understand he's going up against MJF. If anyone expects Brian Pillman to right off the bat cut a good as promo as MJF right now, it's like asking me right now, hey yo, so I need you to go outdraw Howard Stern on your podcast. That's not gonna happen. Or outdraw Joe Rogan on your podcast.
Right.
No, I'm not gonna out podcast Joe Rogan right now. But so I think putting him in this spot is good because it kind of cements him as a player in AEW, and he's someone who the fans want to get behind. He's someone who can work very well in the ring, very underrated worker in the ring, and someone who I think gets it. And once he puts it all together, I think he's going to be money. This guy's going to be real money in the near future, and he could be a future champion. I think that moment with Brian Pillman winning the TNT title or the AEW World, whatever it may be, I think that's going to be a big moment, and a lot of fans are going to genuinely like it because it's not just because of the connection that he has with his father or that we have with his father, right? As fans, that plays a part into it. The other thing is we've seen his story now after the Dark Side of the Ring, and it's been told for the past 20 years. We know Brian Pillman Jr.'s story, what he had to go through as a kid, and we empathize with that, and we sympathize with him, and that's really made him into a very sympathetic figure. But I love what they're doing here. I think there are times where for my taste, they went too far, but it's subjective. It is what it is. I don't think it was. If they both agreed to it, I think that's fine. But what do you think about this match? Who wins and why?
Like you said, I think Brian Pillman has shown how great of a worker he is, how hard he wrestles, and he just gets better. You know what I mean? And again, like with the whole promo thing, he's not going to be the greatest promo guy against MJF. Come on, MJF might possibly be one of the does one of the greatest promos in AEW. He's great. He's amazing on the mic. But I love his in-ring ability. I love both of those guys together. Honestly, if it's me, and it's gonna sound funny, I mean, you could go two ways with this. Honestly, I think you can, give the match to Brian Pillman Jr. I mean, let him see on top since he is the face, and he is still coming up. But honestly, I still think he'll even in a loss, he'll still get the pop from the fans and still get the notoriety that he's looking for. So honestly, you can go either way. But I'm gonna go with MJF winning actually.
This is such a big match for Brian Pillman Jr. because he's never had this big stage in a one-on-one match to really showcase his ability, and this is gonna be a big thing for him. So I'm looking to see big things out of him. I'm looking to see him and what he can do. I'm gonna go with Brian Pillman Jr. as my official pick for this. And I think it's not only to have the good guy win and because I think AEW does a good job of giving the fans what they want.
Right.
I think they can do this where it actually helps build up MJF into something else and something bigger. I think what you do is you have Wardlow try to help MJF. Very similar to what he did at All Out in 2020 again in the John Moxley world title match. Have Wardlow try to interfere on MJF's behalf, but indirectly cost him the match. And have Brian Pillman go over, he still gets the win, and MJF and you build that MJF Wardlow thing that they've been teasing more often than ever over the past few years. More and more. They're teasing it. Yeah, so I think that's definitely a route that is in play for AEW. everything they do, everything that AEW does, it seems to matter. So I would think that they would want to build this thing with him and Wardlow up a little more, and they've done such a good job of doing it over the past 2 years. It is crazy, the subtle hints they throw in. But I'm picking Brian Pillman in a little bit of an upset here.
I mean, like I said, I honestly believe it go either way.
Yeah, absolutely. Sting and Darby Allin versus FTR, Cash Wheeler and the other guy. The other guy. What do you think about this match? Sting and Darby Allin versus FTR.
Another great match, and we know AEW loves their tag teams, and I am thoroughly behind because I love tag teams too. But this is going to be a great one. I don't know really. I'll say Sting and Darby Allin. I'll say Sting and Darby Allin win this match, but I honestly believe is the build up for everything has been so good. Having Tully come out there and talk shit to Sting was awesome. The whole build up to the match has been good, fun and interesting to me. But I'll say Sting and Darby.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Sting and Darby as well. Actually, I think FTR they want to build them up into the world title picture or the tag team title.
That's what I was thinking too, though.
But yeah. I'm gonna stick with Sting and Darby. I think Darby probably needs another win after that loss to Punk, and you can't have Sting. You can't have Sting lose. Just make me happy. All baby faces winning. Let's go with this. I got the baby faces winning here. Next, the dream match. The match that only comes once every 10,000 years. Arguably two of the greatest wrestlers to ever strap up a pair of boots. Two of the greatest wrestlers to ever step foot in the ring. Two of the greatest wrestlers of the past 10,000 years, as Don Callis likes to remind us. Kenny by God Omega versus the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, is happening. And it is happening in an AEW ring. It is happening in front of 20,000 people in a packed Arthur Ashe Stadium. Trevor, what do you think of this match? And for anyone who might not know why this is such a big deal, why is this match such a big deal?
Okay, so they have only wrestled. Well, they've wrestled a few times, but one time that I know of in particular is ROH. It was the three-way match. It was Tyler Black. You guys know him as Seth Rollins, Bryan Danielson, and Kenny Omega. Amazing match, by the way. But both wrestlers have gotten so much better since then. Both wrestlers are arguably two of the best wrestlers in the world. Like, you got Kenny Omega that has gone all over that promotion that we won't mention, all over the world, different promotions, different countries. He has wrestled everywhere. Daniel Bryan, same way. The American Dragon has shown his ass in every country wrestling. Not like that.
Jesus, what? Showing his? Oh my God.
But he's damn good, and so is Kenny Omega. And this is a match that wrestling fans have been wanting for a very, very long time. This match quite possibly could be today's, like, think of a big match back in the day. Ultimate Warrior versus
Savage Steamboat. Savage Steamboat is the match that comes to mind.
I was thinking that one too. Yeah, Savage Steamboat, Savage Ric Flair. Ric Flair Steamboat. Like Sting and Ric Flair. Like, this is that caliber of match.
Absolutely. This is something that people in the wrestling community have wanted for a very long time. It is a dream match of epic proportions, and I could make the argument here that this might be the biggest dream match ever. Ignoring Stone Cold versus Hulk Hogan, which never happened, that probably would have been a bigger one. But in terms of in-ring performance, there's no bigger dream match. This is going to, and I know AEW, knowing these guys, they're going to go all out, pardon the pun, on this match. I'm expecting a hard-hitting, pay-per-view level performance from both of these people. This match could go to a time limit draw, a 30-minute draw, and I would love it. Kenny Omega could beat him clean, and I would love it. Bryan Danielson could win clean, and I would love it. There is nothing you can do wrong other than not use these two to their full potential throughout the entire match. And the fact that the title is not on the line is an amazing thing that AEW did, because one, it builds up Bryan as someone who doesn't just want the title. He wants to literally wrestle the best people on that roster. And also, it gives you the creative freedom to, if you wanted to put Bryan over, you could put Bryan over, no problem, because the title is not on the line. And I'm just so excited. This is going to be. I love Daniel Bryan. I love Bryan Danielson. He's my favorite wrestler of all time. Kenny Omega, in my opinion, might be the most spectacular worker in wrestling history. I can't put into words how excited I am for this match. But Trevor, who do you think is going to win and why?
This may be the toughest question you've ever asked me on the show. And to be honest, it really is, because so you have so many opportunities here, right? You can put over Bryan, which Bryan is pretty much already over, right? And Kenny is Kenny Omega. So, who wins? I mean, there are so many different scenarios. Like, you have Bryan prove that he is superior, that he beats Kenny clean in the ring, 1, 2, 3. Then he has an argument for the belt. Or you have Kenny win, maybe not clean, maybe interference, and then Daniel also has a problem. Like, oh, you didn't beat me clean. Like, put the title on the line. You know, it's a bunch of things they can do with this. I'm gonna go for the obvious one. And say Daniel Bryan. But I don't think that's gonna be that. I don't necessarily think that I'm right, but I'm gonna say Daniel Bryan.
You are the most indecisive person I have ever met. It is so totally Bryan Danielson. The American Dragon is gonna kick Kenny Omega's fucking head in, and it is going to be glorious. Bryan Danielson is going to win this match, reclaim the throne of the King of the Indies, reclaim his throne as the King of Wrestling. And he is Bryan by God Danielson, future world champion. Book it, brother.
We definitely have to cut your lips off his ass.
Whoa, no.
But no, I know he's your favorite wrestler, and he's a damn good one though. I can still remember this first time I saw him live. It was an indie match. It was in RH, and it was versus Roderick Strong.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And ABB in the chat says, if Hangman is ready to come back here, I would love him to return and confront Kenny after the match. Yes,
that'd be great. That would be great.
20,000 people chanting cowboy shit. ABB,
that's my boy. I like Hangman. That's
Who doesn't?
My boy.
Who doesn't? I'm not going to get political here. There's a reason I really love Hangman Adam Page.
I think you told me this before. But
Anyway, moving on. What I think is going to be the main event, because right now the rumor is that the Omega Bryan Danielson match is going to kick off the show, and that's going to be with limited to no commercial interruptions to kick off the show. So that's going to bring in the most amount of people, and then the idea is to have Britt Baker, DMD versus Ruby Soho end the show, which I think is a great idea, because one of the biggest TV shows in wrestling history, and you're going to have a women's match, a women's title match, end the show. That's a great idea, and there's no two better.
And this is the first time they've done this, right?
Well, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker actually main evented back in like March, I believe.
That's right, but it wasn't a title match.
No, it was not. But Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho, AEW Women's World Title. Ruby Soho, of course, won the Casino Battle Royale to get this number one contender spot. Trevor, build up to this match. What do you think about this match, and who wins?
One of the most underutilized wrestlers in WWE is Ruby Soho. They did not use her to her full potential. I mean, come on. She had a faction named after her. She's amazing. If you've ever seen any of her body of work, no matter where you've seen her, you know what I'm talking about. She is an amazing athlete, amazing wrestler. She's great on the mic. Of course, Brit, but we know you guys know how we feel about DMD here. We love Britt Baker here. Britt Baker's an amazing wrestler as well. And you talk about scathing promos. Sheesh. Whoo!
Ruby is like one of the first people to come in there and hold her own against DMD on those
She
promos.
really is. She really is. She's great on the mic. I like Thunder Rosa, but I don't think Thunder Rosa has the chops, the promo chops that Ruby does. And that's not saying anything bad about Thunder Rosa. I just think Ruby is better at promos. Like the the whole thing about sleeping with someone in the back, that was amazing. And you saw Britt Baker try to choke back a smile.
Yeah, it's like get your head out of Tony Khan's ass. That was a great line too.
But I mean, like, and that's what wrestling is about. That's what wrestling is always about. Two guys, two women, two athletes in the ring having fun. And that's why pro wrestling has been at its peak so recently, because people are having fun again. But with all that being said, I wish I could say Ruby Soho wins, but Britt Baker.
Yeah, the DMD is going to win this match, but Ruby Soho, this is going to be a showcase performance for both of them. It's going to be a showcase performance for Ruby Soho. We're going to get to see the uncut, unhinged version of Ruby that we didn't get to see in WWE. A lot of people are excited to see what she can do in this one-on-one capacity. Her and Thunder Rosa had an amazing exchange in that at the end of that Casino Battle Royale match, and I'm of the opinion that this could be the match that steals the show. Because we already know we're expecting great things out of Omega Bryan. We're expecting, big things out of the Malachi Black and Cody match. And we're expecting big things here. But this is a match that I think a lot of people might be sleeping on. And I think these are two people, especially Ruby, has a massive chip on her shoulder. She's looking to prove a lot of doubters in WWE and elsewhere wrong. And I think she's going to do it. I'm very much excited for this match. Baker is going to win, though.
Yeah, Ruby's going to have a showcase. They're going to show Ruby off. Ruby will be champion at some point, mark my words. But she is definitely going to showcase her abilities, and everyone in ever doubted her is going to eat their words.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for watching this video from Real Take Sports Talk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also, remember to check out our live show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. And remember, keep it real.